guys, I'm Sandy. I'm homeschooling mom to 2 boys. I have a 3rd grader and a 5th grader, and they're getting ready to finish up their teaching textbooks 3.0. They're using the 4th and the 6th level. And we've got maybe 1 more month to go until we finish the whole thing, so here's kind of my update on it. So at this time, we are mainly just using the tablets. It's so much quicker just to get the lesson going and warmed up. Like, our computers are kind of old and they'll take like 10 minutes. And with the tablets, pretty much instant. It loads a little bit quicker than our computers do too. I was a little hesitant at first to use the tablets because I was worried it would be a lot to get it going. It was actually really easy to install the Puffin browser and sign into teaching textbooks. So pretty much all that you do is put the Puffin browser on here, and then you can just sign into your teaching textbooks account with your email address and your login password. And my kids, they like to do, if they're doing the whole assignment on the computer, they much prefer doing it on a laptop computer. It's much easier for them to navigate than on a smaller tablet like this. See, here's the Puffin browser, and the free version of the Puffin browser, you'll get maybe 1 ad every time you go to open the teaching textbook website. So I just let the ad play before we even start math, and then when my kids go in a few minutes later to sit down, the ad's already done playing. Like, I really have to zoom in if I want to get to like the right lecture or practice problem. And so about, I would say, about like a few months into the year, my older son said he was really getting sick of having to do all of his work on the computer. So I told him, that's fine, I'll just have you watch the lecture on the computer, and then afterwards I can print up the worksheets. I printed up all of his worksheets here, and he started doing all of his worksheets by hand. And what I do is I print them up, and I hole punch them, and I put them in a binder, and that way I can just easily remove them loosely from the binder, and he doesn't have like a whole huge book that he's got to work from. It's just black and white. Now, I wanted to talk about the one thing that kind of bothered me about the program, and that's the printing of these sheets. So here's the parent homepage, and you can go to this to print up all of your children's lessons. Right there. 2 kids. You've got the book and the answer key in separate areas. And okay, so this is what I don't like about it. You can do individual lessons and quizzes or whole chapters at a time, and you have to go to their website to print it up. You cannot do it with PDF and then print it up on your computer on a PDF. And also, let me pull up one of these. This is the whole lesson at a time. You've got the lectures in here, and after the kids do the lecture on the tablet, see, it's a little bit harder to navigate with the tablet. After the kids do their whole lecture on the tablet, we don't need the lecture printed up. It's just wasting ink. Yeah, I was spending a fortune because like halfway through the year, my younger son decided he didn't want to do his lessons all on the computer either. He just wanted to follow his older brother and do the lecture on the computer and then just do everything by hand. So I've got his stack of papers here that I had to print up with him. I ended up printing up for both kids. And in order to save some ink, I would open each lesson and I would just print up the worksheet itself without the lecture section. And that was really time consuming. So that's really the only thing I didn't like. It would be much easier if they would have it set up with just the worksheets and not the lecture section. So at this point I was like, is it worth it to continue with this math next year if I'm trying to spend a fortune on printing everything up and it's really time consuming? And then when you go to buy their physical workbook, I was like, maybe next year I could buy each of my kids the workbook so I don't have to print it up. But that's $40 for each workbook, and it's going to be, that would make it $80 for both kids. But in the end, I researched a bunch of other math curriculum, and this looked like it was just the best fit for us. So even though we weren't using it exactly like it was, so both of my kids now, as they're finishing up their school year, are doing the interactive lectures on the tablet, which I love because the lectures will stop and pause several times during the lecture and have the kids answer questions. So if you find your kids kind of like staring off into space, they've got to become involved. They're kind of forced to learn it and get involved and watch the screen. And then after the lecture's over, I've already printed up their lessons. I just have my kids do the worksheets by hand. So I'm going to flip through some of these worksheets while I tell you guys what I like about it. This is the level 6 that my 5th grader is using. And I found it to be challenging for him. You know, neither one of my children struggles with math. They both just get math really quick. And I found it probably taught the kids more than public school would have covered. I like the spiral approach to it. I like that they're not doing a bunch of problems, like 50 problems on the same thing every single day. And they like that as well. I love the interactive lectures. I love the lessons are about 15 to 35 minutes a day, depending on whether your kids procrastinate or not. I don't really use the grading in the grade book. I live in a state that doesn't regulate that, and you don't have to show portfolios or proof. But I really like that fact. If I had that in my state, I would definitely love the grade book. All right, let me show. This is the level 4 that my 3rd grader is using. And I just have 2 kids, so when they do this on the paper, I go back and forth between the 2 of them and assist them if they have questions. If I had a lot more kids, I would probably try to make them do it on the computer and, you know, get them to be a little bit more independent. But like my son, he's doing the level 4, and there are some things here towards the end of the year that public schools do not cover in 3rd grade. They don't cover until 4th grade. So I would say if you go up 1 grade, it could be advanced. If you go down 1 grade, then, you know, if you use the grade that your kid is on, like if I would have used level 3, it would have been way too easy for him. So I also wanted to mention the amount of assignments that you get throughout the year. With the quizzes, you're going to have, in the level 6, it has 135 in total. So if you are following the public school calendar and you have 180 days of schooling and your kids don't need to redo a lesson, like for us, we do 5 days a week of math. And my kids have never needed to redo a lesson. They're just catching on really quick. We're going to be finishing early. We're going to be finishing before the school year is up. So if you do 4 days a week, or your kids just need to redo a few lessons, then I think this amount is really good. So when we finish, we're going to just be going through these for review that I picked up at thrift stores. And then maybe like the week before school's out, we'll just take that week off from math. So I really actually like the chance that they're going to have a little bit of time for extra review so that we can cement those math concepts in there better before we move on to next year. So that's pretty much it for teaching textbooks. I'm 99% sure we're going to be using this again next year. I haven't decided whether we're going to be ordering the textbook to go with it or if I'm going to print it out again like I did this year. My kids really like the lessons, and I like the way it's laid out as well. So I hope I was able to help you. Bye.